just might be time to take a fresh look at Minnesota sports history. Leader Fan Radio Network.
Are you nuts?
And KFAN.com. 3 minutes and 8 seconds past the hour of 3 o'clock Central Daylight Time. Welcome back to a Tuesday edition, post-Memorial Day weekend edition of the Bumper to Bumper program on a rather moist weekday afternoon here in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Guardsy produces the show. My name is Dan Barreiro. We will be here for the next 3.5 hours. It's a full program today, as it probably will be forever and ever until we get to, I don't know, Vikings football. What do we usually have on Thursdays back in the day?
Vikings Uncensored at Joe Censor's, the Chris Carter show.
What was the Thursday? No, but more recently, what was the show that preempted us to get out at 6 on Thursday?
Usually, is it
with a Viking guest?
Is it Vikings
Our guy
Country?
Muss used to, Vikings Country.
Vikings Country.
Yeah, that might be the next time we're preempted.
Yeah.
Right?
We open the season Sunday, September 13th against the Packers. So I guess the Sunday before or Thursday before that.
Yeah, it's probably.
It's going to have to be that, right?
You might be right. Very true. Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line has been rebooted at 64686. I was inspired by a single quote over the weekend that had me thinking we perhaps should be taking a fresh, maybe we even say retro look at some of the most seemingly embarrassing moments in Minnesota sports history. And we've had a few.
Oh, yeah. Pound for pound.
Pound for pound, we might lead the league. I don't know. It's hard to say. But I was so inspired by a single utterance that is getting a decent amount of attention ever since he uttered it. James Harden, in the wake of the New York Knickerbockers eliminating his Cleveland Cavaliers in Game 4, a sweep by 37 points, said, I heard it. We might even find the audio later. Genuinely, I do feel like we are the better team. Series-wise, we just didn't show it.
Did you see the game?
Now, let's remember something. In Game 1, the Knicks trailed the Cavaliers by 22 points in the fourth quarter.
That's right.
From that point forward through the rest of the series, the Knicks outscored the Cleveland Cavaliers by 99 points. 99 points. And Game 4 could have been, like I said, it was 40 until a late 3 by somebody from Cleveland. Could have been 50. Could have been 60 if the Knicks had continued to play their players. James Harden's been in the league how long? 17, 18? He's been a long time.
Yep.
How he says, and I get the macho, we concede nothing. How did the media gallery not burst out laughing while they weren't eating chicken wings? More on that later. In all seriousness, how do you say that with a straight face? But it got me to thinking, should we be taking a fresh look at some of the most embarrassing, one-sided moments in Minnesota sports history? For example, we've talked occasionally about 41 Donut. Should we view it in the wake of the James Harden quote, just saying, well, we are the better team. We just didn't show it. Should Vikings fans say, looking back and say, well, maybe I don't need to be as embarrassed by 41 Donut as I was. We didn't show it on that day, but we're the better team. In fact, the Vikings were favored to win that game. So there were odds makers who apparently felt they were the better team. Should we take a fresh look at 41 Donut and not be quite so hard on the lads who I think I have some of the numbers put together here that...
Oh, you happen to find those?
I happen to find these. We were outgained in that game 518 to 114.
Did you see the game?
Giants had the ball for 42 and a half minutes. We had it for 17 and a half.
Okay, calm down.
We had 4 turnovers. The Giants had 0.
And that's a fact.
Dante threw 3 picks. You might recall that a quarterback named Kerry Collins completed 28 of 39 passes for 381 yards and 5 touchdowns. Amani Toomer, later a guest on the Bumper to Bumper program during Super Bowl week, right?
Radio Row, Mall of America.
6 receptions, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ike Hilliard.
I've never seen a smile, by the way, since Johnny Flynn like Amani Toomer's when you brought up that game.
That's true. Hilliard, 10 receptions, 155 yards. Maybe we should look at it a whole different way now. Maybe James Harden has given us permission to say, what's all how you look at it? On that day, we were not the better team, but are we actually, can we still say with a straight face that we are the better team? Or maybe we explore your Minnesota Twins head-to-head against the New York Yankees over the years. I think the overall all-time record is we're 2-16 against them. And the Yankees at one point beat us 13 times in a row. Does that make them better? Or did we just not have on each of those series? And I think that spans how many years here? Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Wow.
Yeah, but so what?
It's worse than I thought.
Maybe it turns out, according to James Harden, we are the better team. We just didn't show it. Series-wise, game-wise, we just didn't show it. What gets in the heads of athletes? Is it the old pride thing where we never... If I concede, if I give you, the media jackals, what you want to hear... And by the way, I don't think anybody necessarily was expecting him to say, we were obliterated, we were embarrassed, we were outclassed, we were out-hustled. It'd be nice, because that's all those things were true. But how do you get up there as a veteran guy without... Did he smirk when he said it?
You look
James
pretty
Harden?
deadpan. I saw some of the cuts of this. Well, you know where I think he got his cues from? His head coach. You saw what his head coach said after the third game, right?
Oh, my God.
Because that was my follow-up to you.
Analytics.
How did the 41 donut game look analytically? How did the 13 losses to the Yankees
That's
look
the next step.
analytically? Because that's what Kenny Atkinson said.
That's correct.
Before Game 4 is...
First he said, analytically, we should have won 3. We won 3 games. Then he, I think, realized that was going to sound beyond the pale.
Right.
So he narrowed it to 2, not realizing that still sounded stupid and feeble and weak and defensive. And he's a nice guy. Everybody thinks he's a hell of a guy. But I'm going to guess on 41 donut, because analytically, I guess the Cavaliers coach, Atkinson, could say, well, we were up 22 in the 4th of Game 1. I think analytically the Vikings probably should have lost like 82-0.
Worse than they did.
Even worse than they did.
Yeah.
And if I look back on it, is it to our credit that we had players who, I don't want to say reveled in the loss, but didn't run from the loss? Randy Moss is the guy who named it. Right in front of me and a bunch of other jackals, 41 donut. I think the quote was something like, how do we lose 41 donut? No one until that moment had ever used that expression regarding that game. That's where that started, and it remains the tradition ever since. So I don't know. It's an
amazing part of the legacy.
Do we give credit? I don't know what the line is. I mean, there were times in the locker room you felt like the players didn't feel stung enough. You want him to feel stung, but I'm not sure James Harden looked particularly stung when he, with a straight face, says to the assembled mob of media members, I'll repeat it here. Genuinely, I do feel like we are the better team. team. They just outscored by 99 points over the last, what would that be? 4, 8, 12, 13 quarters and an overtime by 99 points. 37 at home in the clincher.
When you had to have it.
And I'm sure most of the sports gods would say you got exactly what you deserved, given your obsession, apparently, with the Cleveland Cavaliers ticket office, big shots, for making sure that there are no Knicks celebrities in row 1. It's okay, apparently, we'll take your money in row 3, but if there's something about row 1. You sent me a piece.
Yeah.
Heard about, who's the entertainer, Fat somebody?
Fat Joe.
Fat Joe,
yep.
Who's, by the way,
pretty skinny.
He looks good.
Yeah. He's slender.
Has he always been Fat Joe, or is it a bit? Like, is it the opposite? Has he always been slim, that's his nickname?
I think Fat Joe lost some weight.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there are a bunch of others, maybe not as famous, right, who apparently were told, you're not sitting in the front row. I don't even know how that's legal.
I know.
Once the transactions have been made, right?
You sign stuff, I guess, when you buy those tickets.
Well, you saw the threat from in one of the pieces, may have been the one you gave me, from ownership, basically saying you have to agree to not give up your tickets, and if you do, then you will be banned.
It's over
from the arena forever. And I'm thinking on my way out of the building yesterday, I'm going, oh no, not that, anything but that. Why don't you worry about what you can control, like hustling, executing, getting back on defense? It's the worst part of the sports, what do I say, culture within teams. They create these, they emphasize and focus on these other issues while Rome is burning. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
It's all, and doing it the way you do it, all you do is call further attention to the fact that was about as bad a closeout game as you could possibly get. In all seriousness, I'm not exaggerating. It could have been 50 or 60. If the Knicks, who are playing better than anybody right now, albeit admittedly coming out of the weaker Eastern Conference, had just decided we're just going to keep pressuring you, and we're going to keep running our offense. We're going to keep getting back ahead of you. They could have named their margin of victory in that game. Who's the coach for the winners for the Knicks?
Mike Brown.
Mike Brown used to coach in Cleveland, right?
Cleveland and Sacramento.
I almost felt like I thought he pulled his people early. I'd have played him to like the 1 minute mark. I would have. Not out of like spite, but just say, I'm not going to mess around here. I want to be sure. I don't want anything weird to take place. He seemed, I think, didn't he pull the plug with like about 5 minutes to go?
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think Brunson played at all. Brunson has not played a single fourth quarter in any of the Knicks closeout games to wrap up series. That's how dominant
the Knicks
have been.
They figure it out, and then they figure it out.
Absolutely remarkable. 64686 is the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. And we didn't get anybody in the media. And I guess that's not supposed to be your role as a jackal. You're supposed to just, dutifully take your notes, transcribe from your tape recorder, not like guffaw. That's probably considered bad form. But I got to tell you, it had to be hard not to crack a smile on that one. My God.
Well, you're using it, right?
You are, yes.
If you're in that room, you're using that quote.
There's no question about that. Bonus bucks today?
No bonus bucks this week.
All right. Well, we'll give you a very good, deep uglydeck.com guest lineup in just a couple of minutes. And we'll keep the text going at 64686. That's the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. Lots of ground to cover today. I can't really wait to hear from the hockey community. I really can't wait to hear from the hockey community today on how they think the Lanch will do in the Stanley Cup Finals. Very curious to know how they think they'll match up. Likely against Montreal, we saying? What do we think?
I think Carolina.
Carolina, maybe.
Yeah, Carolina, nice win.
Yeah, who's a better matchup for the Lanch in the Stanley Cup Finals?
Bumper to Bumper with Dan Barreiro on the Fan.
From the 1-800-ASK.
Fat Joe once weighed over 450 pounds. So yeah, he's doing well. Good for him. Yeah, whatever he's doing.
It's tough to sit in those courtside seats if you weigh that much.
If your nickname is Fat Joe, did he give it to himself?
I don't know.
Is it self-appointed?
Probably. Or maybe somebody called him that and he went with it.
Are you inclined, if you lose as much weight as Fat Joe has presumably lost, to go with Slim Joe? Or do you have to stay true to your roots?
I think you stay authentic.
And that's how he's remembered, right? Fat Joe.
Yes.
Huge Knicks fan, apparently.
He is. One of thousands.
Who's the actor you're in love with who... Is that Chalamet? Or whatever?
Timothy Chalamet, yeah. I'm not in love with him. I like the Adam Sandler Chalamet.
He's starting to bug me.
Why?
Chalamet.
He played Bob Dylan, you know.
Is that right?
He came through town. It was a big deal.
I just...
You don't trust him?
No,
or what?
I just don't... There's something about it that's getting too precious in his case.
Interesting.
Chalamet. What role was he in?
I don't know. See, I watched, by the way, they lost by 100 points. They got off to a good start.
Yes, they did.
Cleveland.
Yes, they did.
They were gonna. They showed the video and Mike Brown's.
It was typical. It was,
I know.
Hey, we're getting after it today. You watch us. And at last, then the Knicks punched back once and they went down.
And that's about when I turned it off.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I never located Chalamet or Tracy Morgan or Ben Stiller or anybody else that made the trip.
Well, I don't know what to make of it. It would be interesting to see because there's the analytics with the way they run in every sport is expected score,
yes.
Right? So, but I got to be honest. Like I said, I think the expected score in 41 Donut would be like 65. So we didn't do anything in that game.
No.
Now the interesting one might be do the analytics favor us, the Twins, a little bit? When we lost 13 in a row to the Yankees. How many games were we expected to win on the basis of, I guess, all the other parameters that are put into these analytics?
I would guess at least half.
You think so?
Well, we gave up late inning leads. We had the Joe Mauer, Phil Cuzzi
that's true.
play that, we got jobbed there. Maybe 25, 30% of them. There's a couple of them we lost in heartbreaking fashion. Walk-offs, extra innings. You and I said
we were there with one of them. Yeah,
we sat next to Kirkchin
in the upper deck.
Ruben Sierra hit a dong.
Were we in the upper deck?
Yes,
that was the Augs Media
down the right field line. Yeah, right by the baggie.
320 guy writes, "Are you on crack? Vegas leads Colorado 3-0 in the series. That's not possible.
Did you watch them play against us?
That's not possible." I don't know what you're watching. We've been told, we've been warned that the Lance are almost impossible to beat.
The Stanley Cup winner was coming out of the last series.
Exactly it.
That's what we were told.
Regardless of injuries, regardless of who's available and who isn't available, I don't know. Very confusing to me. Let me get to a couple other texts, and then we'll prepare. Did I give the rest of the guest lineup? I don't think I did.
I don't think we talked about anybody.
No, Ugly Deck guest lineup includes Kevin Seifert at 402. We're back. These are optional practices at TCO. Is that correct?
Organized team activities, yeah.
Okay.
So they're optional, but
you don't have to be there.
Correct.
Is Kyler Murray there?
I think he's coming. Yeah.
What do you mean coming? It started today? Or is it the rookies first?
I don't know exactly.
Right, we'll find out.
Session 1 of OTAs.
Seifert,
I think he's
402.
coming.
B-Flow wins a big Supreme Court case. We'll get his interpretation of that. Seifert. Louis is back in studio at 5:02. And for the second consecutive week, that might be a record lately since he moved to Florida to grow the game. And Jonny Athletic will join us at the bottom of this hour. In fact, in just a very, very few minutes. Let me get to a couple other quick texts. I had something else stuck in my craw regarding the basketball, but now for the life of me, I can't. It doesn't come to me. 2 years in a row where the Wild lose in the playoffs, the unbeatable teams that get blown out after that. Why can't our lads get over the hump? Do you guys ever get gobsmacked when it all just falls in your lap by broadcast time? That's from John in Playa Vista, California. Yeah,
it doesn't always, but when it does, we take advantage of it.
Yeah, we smile about it. We enjoy it.
Yep.
We try to then, take advantage of it. That's the most important thing. Kendrick Perkins on Cat, Flores court case on track, Kyler with the step back, Wolves in 27. That's also from John. One of the media jackals should have asked Harden better at what? Yeah, that probably wouldn't have played well. The analytics said that Gary Anderson actually made the field goal to clinch the 1998 NFC Championship. Would have put us up 10 with 2.5 minutes to go. Maybe that's where we look. We don't look at just the blowouts. We look at the Saints-Packers playoff game in New Orleans, and what do the analytics show? Were we expected, should those have been expected victories for us on the basis of whatever analytic chart that that Atkinson, the Cavaliers coach, was using, trying to explain away the fact at that point his team was down 3-0.
The Favre Saints game, I have to imagine analytically.
You think we win it?
I think we cleaned up in that game. Now, I don't know.
You think it's like dominant?
Yes.
You might be right.
Just because of the yardage, everything that came with it. But the thing you can't take out, and you noted this the day after and have ever since, and you're right, the fumbles. The fumbles and the turnovers. That's what throws analytics out the window. No matter how well you play, if you turn it over 52 times, you're probably going to lose the game.
Won't the Lynx ever boot you off early, getting off the show early? Will we ever be preempted for a Lynx game?
I don't think so, because the only time that would happen is when they're on the East Coast, and when they're on the East Coast, they don't really have radio games.
Oh, is that true?
That's true as of this year.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay. All right, good to know. All right, let's stay on schedule. Let's get to Jonny Athletic's reaction to his guy. He's a big Cat guy. Cat's in the NBA Finals. First time in his career. So he goes to 3 straight conference finals, right?
Yeah.
3 straight now. And now he advances in style as a member of the Knickerbockers. We'll get an update on some Minnesota Timberwolves stuff from him. If you have questions for Johnny, hit the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. That number, as always, is 64686.
You're listening to Barreiro on the Fan.
Jonny Athletic. And he's on with Dan Barreiro right now.
All right, it is indeed time for Jonny Athletic. Let me see if I can get him going here. Yeah, there we are. Brought to you by RBC Wealth Management. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Dan. How are you?
We are both a little. I think there might be a little tension in the air during this interview, and I guess the question is, do we get to it early, or do we get to it a little bit later? I think I'm going to hold off a little bit before I try to cut open a vein and see if you can. I don't want an open confrontation on this, but I think we need to clear the air about something that was brought to our attention late last week. Let me get back to the Atkinson analytics quote, because there are people who said to me, look, if you read the context, and I'm going to read the broader quote, that it explains it a little bit more. Here's the broader quote from Atkins. The reporter asks, what's your answer to your own question why you believe the Cavs could win the next game? This was after Game 3, obviously. And Atkinson's reply was, we've had success against this team before. We've had really good moments in this series, up 20 in Game 1. Even Game 2, take that run out from the beginning of the third quarter, and it's pretty tight. I think analytically, we've won I said 3 out of 3. We've actually won 2 out of 3 in the expected wins. I don't know if you guys follow that. The expected score, we've won 2 out of 3. I know you're looking at me confused, but there is really, if you believe in process and all that, take that layer. I know I don't throw that on them. I see it for myself. We have this feeling. I have this feeling that I can go to our analytical table. So does that make it a little less egregious? Or do you say, whatever you think, whatever might in fact be true analytically, you can't go down the road that you go down publicly?
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at, Dan, is when you look at it, I mean, you can believe it. There can be sort of strands of truth in there that you can use to maybe say, hey, it's not as bad as it looks right now and feels, and we're not as far off as maybe people believe that we are. but you can't say that publicly. Part of being a head coach is understanding messaging and understanding what you can say and what you can't say. And to put out there that actually we are, ahead 2-1 or whatever it is,
or 3-0
in this series.
First. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, or 3-0 is absolutely going to negate anything you say afterward or any kind of good faith discussion you want to have. We can even get into what is the expected value of the shots that are happening and all of these other things that are real, kind of numbers that people look at. But in the playoffs, in these small sample sizes, it is a results-oriented thing, not a process-oriented thing. And so when you're getting your butt kicked, you just have to say, look, man, we have to play better. We have to do better. You can't go diving into the weeds and say, well, actually, this report says this and this analysis says that. It's only going to make you look silly, and that's exactly what happened with Kenny Atkinson in that situation.
I would also suggest you sort of have to know that you're not going to lose the next game by 37. Now, he couldn't have known that. But the quote looks even worse in retrospect. But again, take out the last game. If you do the math on this, and I've actually double and triple checked it, they're down 22, obviously they being the Knicks, in the fourth quarter of game one, right? So from that point forward, through the rest of game one, game two, and game three, the Cavaliers were outscored by 62 points. So even there, you go, well, I don't know what the analytics think are going to tell you, but because we said, if we started playing the analytic game, what would the 41 donut game, would that be closer than that, or would it actually be worse? I think that game the analytics might say the expected score is more like 63-0.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And Dan, this is where I think the analytic quant community that has really kind of taken over professional sports in a lot of ways has to understand that you can't, no matter how much you believe this, no matter how much you want to pay attention to this and you want to use this data for your information, your education, for the way that you process what is going on, you cannot use this in any kind of open forum argument, because it removes everything that's great about sports out of it. The passion, the unpredictability, the humanity, all of the things that get 20,000 people into that stadium, all of the things that get millions of people watching it at home. They just don't sit there looking for, wanting to look at a spreadsheet. It's just like, that's not the case. And it can help you build a team. Yes. And it can help you evaluate over a long sample size. But in these moments, you cannot lean on it that way. And that is what actually will come back to hurt the analytic community way more than it will help them going forward.
Well, as a wise man named Josh Hart said earlier in the series, analytics are a lamppost to a drunk person. You can lean on them, but they won't get you home. I think he actually changed the quote, but I like his version of the quote too, and it got a lot of attention. On a serious note, your guy, Cat, is in the NBA Finals, 3 straight years conference finals. Now he is a main piece. You could even argue his emergence as an offensive force, as a conduit, is a big part of the reason why New York dominates their way through the Eastern Conference playoffs. And I guess the question everybody's trying to figure out, analytically or any other way, is whether they should be taken seriously as a threat to win the whole thing, given all along people have said it's Okie City and it's San Antonio Davey and everybody else is on a different plateau. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm really happy for Karl Anthony Towns. Like, he has kind of received all sorts of scrutiny, some of it good faith, a lot of it bad faith over the years. And he's been questioned and doubted and all of those things. And sometimes he's been his own worst enemy. And sometimes he's had some things that he has been deserving of scrutiny for. A lot of it, though, has been, I think, very unfair. And here he is now, right on the doorstep of what would be, let's face it, a historic championship if the Knicks were to win it. If he was to be a main part of the New York Knicks climbing the mountain for the first time since the 70s, and beating whoever they play, the Spurs or the Thunder, they will beat a team, a 60-plus win team that they will be underdogs against. It would be historic. And so I am happy that he's getting this opportunity. I'm happy that he is playing great basketball. We've seen him in a Timberwolves uniform put up 35 and 20 and numbers like that. He's not doing that for the Knicks, but he's playing really under control, and he's playing with the command of the offense and a discipline on defense that I think is really high level and a huge part of why they are winning the way that they are winning. And so, long story longer, to get to this point, having won 11 in a row, even in a weaker Eastern Conference, they are beating the brakes off of every team that they play.
Yes.
And so I think they have to be taken seriously going into these finals, no matter which team they play against. I think that they go into it believing they can win, and I don't think that's outlandish at all with the way that they just seem to be coming together as a collection, as a real team. It's really inspiring stuff right now.
Let's revisit one more time, even though we've been here before, the elephant in the room, because it's inevitable that with Towns helping the Knicks get to the NBA Finals, giving them, as you say, they're a chance to win the title for the first time since 1973, it's only natural, even though it's well after the fact, for people to say, oh, man, I'm really feeling like if you just keep the big two, our big two together, we can go places. We can find other ways to fit around them, etc. So the conventional wisdom now is that's oversimplifying it. Money was involved. The ability to make other moves were involved. But let me ask you directly. Do we all accept that narrative too easily? I mean, is it possible there was another way to try to navigate what would have been challenging, keeping Cat and Edwards together, and maybe build around it different ways, especially if you're willing to stay in the second apron? Or is it as simple as, nope, no way, no how, the Wolves had no choice but to do what they did?
Well, I would just say this. I mean, we could have this discussion for 2 hours on the show to really unpack everything and get into it, but I'll try to keep it as tight as possible. This all goes back to the Rudy Gobert trade. And the Wolves made the trade for Rudy Gobert to try and vault into contention in the West. And not long after they made that trade, unbeknownst to them and to the rest of the league, the entire financial landscape of the league changed dramatically. And so the changes that were put forth were built to install parity into the league in a way that has not been there prior to this last collective bargaining agreement. And what they wanted to do was artificially put in a salary cap on teams so that they made it so prohibitive to keep teams together with huge payrolls that these owners could then say to each other and to the public, look, we cannot pay this luxury tax because we cannot make the moves necessary to put, to a kind of sustained success. So we have to pull things back and we have to spend less money to do it because we're handcuffed otherwise. It was a really savvy trick by the owners to hoodwink the players into putting a salary cap in. Because of that came in with where the Wolves were in making that Rudy Gobert trade. They were further along in the financial calamity than a lot of other teams were. And so their hand was forced to break up this team sooner than other teams. You're going to see Boston go through it. You're going to see Oklahoma City go through it eventually. You're going to see New York go through it. Like, all of these teams are going to all experience what the Wolves did. And what the Timberwolves had to decide on is, okay, we're going to trade Karl Anthony Towns because he has more value than Rudy Gobert on the market right now when they traded him. So we can get more in return to keep Anthony Edwards competitive. And if they would have kept Karl Anthony Towns instead of Rudy Gobert, they likely would have had to give rid of Rudy Gobert, Naz Reid. They wouldn't have gotten Dante DiVincenzo. They wouldn't have gotten Johan Berenger. They would have been much, much thinner. You may have even had to say goodbye to Nickeil Alexander-Walker as well. And so they would have been much thinner. Could they have maybe rebuilt around Cat and Ant in a different way? Yes, but you certainly wouldn't have had a team deep enough to go into the conference finals a second time like they did last year, and probably maybe not even deep enough to get into the second round this year. We would see. It would take a lot more work. And so it's not impossible that they could have kept Cat, but they would have had to change so many other things that they felt that, hey, we're going to keep Rudy Gobert, who is a kind of a floor raiser for us. We're going to get a nice return for Karl Anthony Towns, and it's going to keep us in the mix over these next several years. They were right about that. The unfortunate thing for them is that Julius Randle was terrible in these playoffs, and Dante DiVincenzo had a catastrophic injury. And so those things are contexts that have to be included when you evaluate. It wasn't just, oh, man, Julius Randle for Cat, this was a terrible trade. No, there were other factors that were involved in it, making it more complicated, and it would have just been a lot harder for them to be as competitive as they have been the last couple of years if they just went with Ant and Cat going forward.
Cat's going to Darnold us, isn't he?
He might, and no one would be happier for him than me.
Yeah.
That is the risk that the Wolves had to take, but it really does look like it. I heard Shaquille O'Neal said today on a podcast somewhere that these Knicks remind him of the Pistons that beat the Lakers in 2004. And I feel like that's an apt comparison. I mean, I know Brunson and Cat are very, very good players, like star players, but they're going to go up against a more heavily favored team. But the way they're playing right now, man, it looks really good. And if Cat can keep playing this under control basketball, they have a real chance. And man, that would be a one heck of a story if it happened.
The Knicks weren't in the same position as the Wolves were then because Brunson's contract isn't as big as what Anthony's has become, or what was the difference at the time of that deal?
A couple of things, Dan, on that. One is you're right that Brunson's deal was not as big, and if you recall, his latest extension that he just took, he took reasonable. A significant pay cut and a very team-friendly deal to make all of this work in a way that shouldn't work otherwise. And so you had Brunson taking less money. He only makes $38 million this year, which is a huge bargain for him. Cat makes $57 million, just for everyone to know. And so, and then they didn't have all of the extensions kicking in just yet for Josh Hart, for Mikal Bridges, for Anunoby. All of those things hadn't taken place and taken root just yet. And so Brunson's sacrifice, coupled with just the timing of some of the other deals, they're going to end up paying the price for it in the next couple of years, but it just didn't kick in as soon because when Rudy came in, you already had Cat and Ant on ultra max deals, and then Rudy was making a ton of money as well. And so it just kind of log jammed a lot quicker.
Any new, interesting, tantalizing dirt or informed speculation regarding the team remake that is coming this offseason?
Well, I would say that just kind of as I've digested everything and looked at what could happen, I am still of the mind that something significant will happen. That, the starting lineup will not look the same going into next season, one way or the other, whether that's Julius Randle, whether that's Rudy Gobert, whether that's something else that happens. There's going to be movement. I do come to, as I digest all of the possibilities out there, I think to me, just this is my personal speculation and evaluation of it, a Kyrie Irving deal seems more feasible than a Giannis Antetokounmpo deal, just with all of the moving parts that would have to be executed to make that one happen. I think Kyrie is a little more straightforward. It's interesting, though, Dan, that our Los Angeles Clippers writer at The Athletic, La Murray, kind of speculated today on a possibility of a Kawhi Leonard trade. And maybe the Clippers look to move him out, and maybe they would want some combination of Rudy, Julius, and some picks for Kawhi Leonard. And that's another one that is just like at least making me think about and is interesting to me. I know that he has a lot of injury issues and things of that nature, but what he would bring to the table if he was playing at his best would be a lot of what this team needs. So that's another name that I kind of want to look at a little bit more and look into. And I also think maybe it's slightly easier to pull off than Giannis. And so there's going to be a few more options, I think, that come available here in the next couple of weeks as really things shake out. But I'm still of the mind that we will see a bigger deal. I'm not holding my breath for Giannis, but I do think something like Kyrie, maybe Kawhi, maybe, Jalen Suggs, maybe somebody like that will happen. And there will be some significant move that happens this summer that really shakes things up a bit.
Did you accept Anthony Edwards' explanation for his, I think, fairly unprecedented decision to dap and congratulate San Antonio Spurs coaches and players with 8 minutes to go?
I mean, I saw where he's coming from. Like, hey, we're going to do this sooner or later. I might as well do it right now. Is that unconventional? Yes. I didn't get as wound up about it as some people did. One thing I do think, and he hasn't said this, no one has kind of told me this in his camp, but if you want to really read into it, Dan, I think that you could look at it as Ant saying, I'm going over here right now and telling people and showing everyone in this building and in this organization that we were cooked with 8 minutes to go in the game. And that demands that something happen, that we are not good enough as is. He was saying that, look, we just got our butts kicked and I was going to do it now rather than wait around for them to be celebrating on our court. I didn't want to do that at the end of the game when they were all having their fun together. I see that, but I do think that there was also probably something that he was thinking about is like, if I go over right now, it is clear to everyone in this building, everyone in this organization that we were dominated in this last game and really in a lot of this series. And so something else has to happen here. And I think like that was as big of a symbolism as anything to me. I don't think it was disrespectful. I don't think he was trying to kind of interrupt what the Spurs were doing or anything like that. I think it was like, hey, it's time to go here, Timberwolves. Let's make some moves and see what happens.
Was that the point of the no comment the night of the last game?
It might have been.
Yeah.
It might have been because, like, I think that one of the parts of the no comment thing was, like, one thing Ant does never want to do is throw his teammates under the bus publicly. Right. And so I don't think he wanted to say with his words, we have to make changes here. Like that, he just does not want to do that. And even in that video that he put out, that were with that explanation, I thought there was something really telling it earlier in the video where he was saying very genuinely, man, if we can get Jaden or Julius to start making shots, we're going to be right in this thing. That's how much he was believing in this team and what could be accomplished. And like, there was never a part of him that thought that they were losing that series until they got run off the court in Game 6. And so I just think that his personality has always been, I'm going to think the best of my teammates and I'm going to want the best for them and I'm never going to make them feel less than. And so in that moment, he was never going to have the quote that says, we've got to go here. We've got to change. Instead, it's more subtle of, hey, if I go over and shake these guys' hands with 8 minutes to go, everyone knows what I'm thinking about right now.
Now, Spurs and OKC, who's going to win this series?
I picked Spurs in 7 to start the series, Dan. And when you look at kind of where things are at right now, I don't have a reason to come off of that, particularly because A.J. Mitchell and Jalen Williams are both injured for the Thunder. And those are their two main shot creators outside of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So I think that without those two players, and maybe they come back later in the series, but without them, the Thunder just are much, much easier to guard. And so I think that the Spurs have a real edge now with those two guys out. And so, I think they find a way to win 2 of these last 3 and go on to the finals, and it's Cat versus Wemby.
Clayton from Rochester, as we wrap things up, it sounds like yours and Guardsy's pub crawl invites went wide left. Will there be an apology from Jonny Athletic? That's from Clayton. That's the sore spot for this program right now.
Dan, I will tell you that, I have thoughts about our good friend Tom West at the Vikings when I think about inviting you to social occasions. And I've always asked Tom West, the PR director, longtime PR guy for the Vikings, hey, you going to go to the Wolves game tonight? Hey, you going to check out this playoff game? And Tom would say to me, you could send a limo to my house, pick me up, pay for all my food and beverage, and drop me back off, and I probably wouldn't. I'll probably stay. And so maybe I'm being unfair to you, Dan, but the invitation is open for both you and Guardsy. Next Saturday in Northeast Minneapolis, we will be out and about reviving the pub crawl that kind of went dormant after COVID. It's going to be historic. And so I hope that you both make it. I will send you guys the itinerary, and I look forward to seeing you both out there for some wine coolers, some beverages, and some overall revelry in Northeast Minneapolis with the Krasinski clan and Jacques Cousteau.
2 things. Yeah, Jacques Cousteau, we want to know. Like that I'm lumped in with Dan in terms of the antisocial part. Really, that cuts. Like that cuts even more. I mean, when you say
you're different, Guardsy.
Well, but
you have 9 jobs.
I never got the invite either.
You have 9 jobs and you're a father first. We know you're a father first.
But I wasn't a father for the first decade we knew each other when this crawl was going on.
You didn't have 3 kids then.
Yeah, I didn't have 3 kids or 9 jobs.
Yeah, that's right. Think about it.
Yeah, that.
I had a hunch that was going to bug him.
Yeah, that hurt.
The misanthropic part of it.
And I'm not judging Dan for being antisocial.
We're not in the same.
I don't think we are. Maybe we are. Maybe I need to look inward.
You might want to take a look in the mirror. That's what I think.
Because now I know. So it's Sunday the 31st, right? And that's what you're going with?
No, Saturday the 30th.
Saturday. That's even worse. Because
Saturday.
Well, I'm looking at my calendar.
Man.
We've only got lacrosse on Sunday. We've got basketball, swimming, and lacrosse on Saturday. So I think I'm dead. I think I'm out.
Hey, everyone can find excuses. Yeah. Make a play. Just make a play.
Yeah, that's the danger of calling you out on it. That's always that was my one hesitation. Is just now, you've basically called my bluff.
There was a decade plus where I was probably running my own parallel bar crawl and didn't even know it.
Very, very true.
And would have loved to just, combine them. But that's cool. No problem.
Thank you, Johnny.
Yeah,
go ahead.
The street runs both ways. Yeah. You can invite me out anytime as well. That's all I'll say.
It's good to know. Thanks, man. Have a great week. That's John Krasinski, Jonny Athletic, brought to you by RBC Wealth Management. Football is back in the air. Believe it or not, Vikings practicing already. Off-season workouts or whatever we call them. They have a fancy name. I know that. Is the quarterback there? We're going to find out. We'll also find out from Kevin Seifert in just a couple of minutes the implications of that Supreme Court ruling that came down to affect positively, we think, our guy B-Flow to move forward in a case that has been looming for quite some time that the National Football League does not feel particularly interested in defending. So we'll get into all those things and more with Kevin Seifert next.
Bumper to Bumper with Dan Barreiro on the Fan.
From the 1-800 Ask Gary